deep sorrow, as I knew it was perpetrated by Al-Qaeda. I also said that the September attacks were a catastrophe for Islam and all Muslims.
There was much more I needed to know and wanted to ask, but he was so busy here. It was difficult to get time alone with him. We arranged to meet in his hometown of Aswan to discuss his upbringing and to meet his brothers. One in particular who was influential in converting him to radicalism. But that wouldn't be for a while. So I set off for Saudi Arabia to meet another ex-extremist.
لا ما سجلت صورت أنا متى إني صرمتك فاعلمي ألا مزار فلا تزوري وتجرعي غصص الفراق تجرعي ذل المريض.
Mansour al-Naqidan has been in and out of prison in Saudi Arabia for being an extremist. On this occasion, he is between prison sentences, and he is celebrating with some friends.
يا من أتى بالإفك والبهتان وسعى بسعي ظاهر الخسران منيت نفسك والجنون مقسم حظ الجهول من الجنون أماني ظن السرابة تدفق الغدران.
He has been in and out of jail 6 times in 15 years for participating in violent acts and for speaking out against the royal family.
يلا راح تسجل. شش كان
Later on, he was joined by his family and the celebration extended into the night. Looking at this footage, he seems a relaxed man for all that he has been through. But when I called him up on the phone back in 2005 to set up a meeting, he was very suspicious of me. The conversation was uncomfortable, and when we finally met in Riyadh, it was even worse. He insisted that we meet in a hotel. He didn't want me in his home or to meet his wife. He had an unwelcoming look and the tone of someone who doesn't trust you. He struck me as being very conservative and just plain weird. In the first interview, he was stiff.
I grew up in the Qasim region, in Braida. I went to school there until the 9th grade, when I started getting attracted to the old religious way of life that our great-parents lived 1200 years ago. I followed a religious education for 5 years. I lived in an isolated religious environment with other religious people from 1986 until 1990. The radical thoughts that were going through my mind were all about my duty to take matters into my own hands. We were disappointed in the government because it wasn't practicing Islam the way we believed it should be practiced. But I lived in an ongoing conflict with myself. I felt that I had to change my radical ideas, and that we are not God's only chosen people, and that there are other people out there besides us. I feel that I'm a changed person today.
Maybe because he was suspicious of me, I became suspicious of him. I wasn't convinced that he was sincere in his turn to moderation and reform. Al-Naqidan grew up in the Wahhabi heartland, home to 4 of the September 11th hijackers. By age 20, he was considered a prodigy, having achieved the status of imam or spiritual leader. His fiery attacks against modernism in the West earned him the praise of Osama bin Laden.
Nobody influenced me in a specific way while I was growing up. My parents are devoted Muslims. My father is a merchant. They are typical Saudi Muslims. They thank God for everything they have. They have very simple concepts of politics.
Like Osama bin Laden, al-Naqidan was angry and upset when American soldiers did not leave Saudi Arabia after the Gulf War. He became more radical.
I firebombed video stores selling Western movies and even burned down a charitable society for widows and orphans. We were convinced that the charitable society was pushing for the liberation of women.
He was jailed but came out of prison 2 years later, still radical. Then everything changed in the mid-1990s when a car bomb killed 6 Americans in Riyadh. The United States government demanded quick arrests. Mansour was rounded up with others, and despite professing his innocence, he was sentenced to another 2 years in prison, but this time with orders that he be physically punished. He was shocked to hear the judges justify their decree with a strict interpretation of Islam.
There are lies in the name of religion, and we were jailed in the name of religion.
It dawned on him that if the judges were misrepresenting Islam to justify his torture, perhaps he was also misrepresenting Islam when he justified violence against others. This was a critical moment of self-doubt, and he sought an even deeper understanding of Islam.
During my time in prison, my sister would bring me books. Alone in my cell, I was introduced to Muslim philosophers. It was with wrenching disbelief that I came to realize that Wahhabism is not the only form of Islam. Other forms preached love and tolerance.
I had to give him credit for his critical thinking in a society which discourages such things. It takes courage to criticize both the government and Wahhabism, the puritanical form of Islam. Slowly, his anger towards the West and modernization turned toward his own government and the religious clerics. In a dangerous move, he went public with his criticism, writing for Saudi newspapers, internet sites, and even the Western press. He called for reform in his country, referring to it as a breeding ground for terrorists. He was banned from writing in Saudi Arabia. He received death threats from some religious leaders, and the government ordered that he be lashed 75 times for expressing his opinion. But going public with his opinion, he says, is what keeps him alive.
Extremism is filling all corners of the kingdom, and scholars are making it worse. They are rejecting any logical dialogue. The government shares significantly in this situation by often encouraging the fanatic practices of scholars. In return, the government expects silence about any matters critical of the royal family and government institutions.
But Mansour continues to speak out against the government and about his own misguided past.
I feel sorry for any harm I caused anyone.
The next time I saw Mansour, it wouldn't be until 2 years later. One of my favorite places in Egypt is where the Nile River meanders through the city of Aswan. This is Upper Egypt, about 1,200 kilometers from Cairo. I was surprised when Muntasir al-Zayat told me that he was from Aswan. Upper Egypt is known as a hotbed of insurgency in past years. But I knew it as a place of very friendly people from when I took trips here as a schoolboy. He took me to his old neighborhood to visit his family business.
I graduated from high school from this area. Our home and upbringing were in another area called El Kalani. This is El Zayat stationary, and we preserve the name of the family in courtesy of my father, who was the principal of the El Zayat school. El Zayat school is one of the oldest schools in Aswan. This is my son Khalid. Take a picture of us together.
We went into the store to meet Al Zayat's older brother Ahmed, who was instrumental in radicalizing منتصر when they were young boys. Ahmed had also been arrested and jailed for his role in the attempted overthrow of the government back in the 80s.
This is Ahmed Al Zayat, my older brother, who taught me extremism, and then he left me.
Ahmed was a welcoming guy, and he seemed to trust me and my intentions.
We were always close to each other. After he finished high school, he attended school in Asut. There, the Islamic groups started to flourish. He came back from Asut a different person, with a different mentality, talking about the Islamization of society.
Our main intention at the time was to spread the Islamic teachings.
We used force to stop students from organizing and attending parties.
We were also appointed as observers of the closure of all bars and would then report any violation. We went beyond that and took matters into our own hands as we smashed the bottles and shut down the bars by force.
One night, we decided to take over a piece of land and build the headquarters for the Jama Islamiyya in Aswan. To finish the building, we used to go around to the stores and take what we needed, either peacefully or by force. Some stores helped us with good intentions. Others helped us because they feared us, especially since we were a big group and used to walk around with big sticks in our hand.
However, when we look back at these doings, we can say that it was wrong of us, and we shouldn't have done such things.